スタジオ3万
If you could be half man, half sausage, which way round would you have it and why?
Which side do I want to be the sausage side?
Oh, yeah.
That is hands down the best question I've ever been asked.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Nerd OD podcast with your usual hosts, Dan.
And I'm Reg.
Usual or unusual?
Well,
unusual would be Steve or Dave, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, could you imagine, right, if 1 week me and you just couldn't actually do a podcast and randomly a Nerd OD podcast went up and it was Dave and Sean just doing a podcast?
If only.
I wouldn't know what was going on.
I mean, it's only happened like 3 times, but I loved the times when I went on holiday and my phone still alerted me and went, hey, by the way, there's a new Nerd OD podcast available. I'm like, it actually happened.
It did. On the rare occasion I could actually get other people to podcast with me.
Yeah, absolutely.
It actually happened.
Exactly.
Wonderful.
Exactly. I might sound a bit weird because I've been ill. No COVID, fortunately, but I've been ill. I think because of COVID and everyone's been wearing masks and washing their hands loads and hand sanitizer and all this stuff and whatever and socially distancing, the flu has pretty much sort of disappeared, right? But I think, and this is either a testament to a bad thing about me in that my immune system must have been completely shot, or flu has now become a superbug because over the last week, I've been completely out of it. I've had like a proper full-on head cold. I've had real flu symptoms, really bad headaches, just everything. Any symptom of any kind of flu or illness you can have, I seem to have had. And while I'm better now, I still have sort of got this rough, low, like slight gruff voice. I don't know whether it's coming across that way, but it sounds like that in my head.
I wouldn't say gruff. I would just say,
okay.
You're sort of munging up and you sound a bit like this.
That's what I sound like.
Maybe not as bad as that.
Okay.
But it sounds like, you know, when you've had your ears submerged in water and you don't know how you sound, and you're like, okay. A little bit like, or I should just say you sound like you're full of cold. But that explain to people that you definitely have done COVID tests and you haven't got COVID.
I have, great. Yeah, I've had 2 COVID tests and both of them negative. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I was convinced it was COVID because I was like, yeah, okay. Feel like I've been hit by a bus, blah, all this and this. No temperature or anything, though. That's the only thing. So, but here I am. I'm still alive to tell the tale. And yeah, so don't just watch out for COVID. Watch out for just general super flu that seems to be out and about. Like I say, it's either that or my immune system just thought, you know, I'm done with this. It doesn't need me anymore. Had nothing go wrong, and then suddenly it's like, oh no. But it's weird. I'm now seeing my entire week mirrored in my other half because it was from last Sunday I started to feel a bit ropey through to Saturday just gone, and then on yesterday, in fact no, Saturday, I was like, right, I'm better now, and Shell's like, starting to feel a bit fluey, and I'm like, yeah, I knew you would. I told you to stay away from me, you know. But you had to. Weird, though, you had to have a piece of the Dan, you know, because
you had that, and also last week Ash wasn't well either. Ash had like really bad flu symptoms and had like the head cold and stuff, and she was like, "You stay away from me because I don't want you to catch it."
Okay.
And like Oliver was a little bit sniffly, but fine. Right. I've been absolutely fine the entire time. I'm like, am I the carrier? Am I patient 0?
Could be.
Like, what's going on?
Maybe.
Or maybe just when I've been at work, what have you and Ash been up to?
I mean, I've barely left the house, so, you know, that's my argument.
Yeah, how about that? When you very rarely leave the house and you still catch a cold, that you go once to go get some shopping and that's it.
I do. I go shopping and I go to the cinema. And going to the cinema is basically being sat in a large, mostly empty room. Or maybe it was that, like we talked about, I went to see Venom and there was more than 4 people in that room. There was about 20 to 30 people in that big cinema. that could have fit 150 people. Maybe it was then.
I'm thinking it's probably then, to be honest.
Yeah, Venom poisoned me. Yeah.
Well, it did its namesake justice, at least.
That was exactly that was my attempt at humour. That's exactly the sort of attempts at humour you get on this podcast. So stay tuned, guys. You've got a whole another 55 minutes of this comedy genius. And Reg.
Hi.
How's things been with you?
Better than you from the sound of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, apart from the usual, which is just non-stop work, I've obviously been smashing out the Game Pass stuff still. Absolutely obsessed with that at the minute. Genuinely, the downside is now it's like I'm panicking that I'm not going to get to play everything, so I'm just trying
before your 99p 3 months runs out.
Well, I know
before they remove stuff.
This is going to be my thing now, so I'm not going to get a console for a long while. Although it's making me laugh because there's so many people I know that signed up for notifications when the PS5 was coming back into stock, and like joining up to mailing lists for PC World or like Zavi and that sort of stuff. And one of the lads I work with, Mike, messaged me and he was like, "I know the answer's no, right? But do you want me to get you a PS5 because I've got the notification from PC World to say, hey, would you like a PS5? I've got a few in stock. Would you like one? You just need to have a bundle with like one game and a pad." And he was like, "So
I hate that we're still at that point where you have to buy stuff with them."
It's because they know it's like gold dust still, so they're like, "Hey, the fucking gold dust." So I'm surprised it wasn't like have it with 3 games and a pad.
Mm-hmm. With these 3 games that no one wants. Here's a copy of Balan Wonderland. Remakes of some game that was out 18 years ago.
So I was like, "No, you're right." It's like, honestly, mate, you don't need to pay me until like this payday or next payday. I was like, "It's Christmas. There's a Steam Deck coming out, and I've got a little kid."
This payday or next payday? Next payday, which is literally the pre-Christmas payday.
Yeah. So I'm like, I'm all right, mate. I'll wait. It's fine. And he was like, "All right, okay then." And then my old manager came into the office and was like, "Reg, can I have a quiet word?" I was like, "Yeah." And usually this is like, "This has happened. Can you help me out?" Because he's shit at like tech, but his kids are always like, "Dad, can you like this?" And I'm like, "Yep, no worries. Right, what do you need a hand with now? Do you need emails going back on your phone? Like, what are we doing?" And he's like, "I just want to have a quiet word before I offer it out to like one of the other lads that we know, but just had a notification from PC World that they've got some PS5s." And he's like, "Would you like it?" And I'm like, I'm all right, mate. Thanks anyway.
If you're offering it me as a bonus because I've been such a good worker, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, that'd be great. But if it's anything else, then I'm good. And he was like, "All right, no worries. Just thought I'd ask because it's fine. We've got our one now. I got it off our next door neighbour who bought one and then realised that they didn't really want it, so sold it for market price instead of going on eBay. Just sold it for set retail price." And I was like, "Fair play." And then literally one by one, all the people that are working in the office at the minute keep coming up to me going, "Reg, we've just had a notification from Argos saying that they've got my a PS5 for me reserved because I ordered one ages ago. But do you want it? Because I don't want it now." And I'm like, "No, I'm all right." So I'm presuming the chip shortage is coming towards an end, and the stock is coming out rife, which is awesome because CEX have got all these PS5s that they paid an absolute mint for. They're now going to have to sell at normal price because they're not going to be able to do it, which is glorious.
Yeah, I got in my Google News feed. It was 3 747s full of PlayStation 5s arrive at Heathrow. So yeah, apparently a gigantic shipment came in. Although that's still not that many, I don't think.
No, I was going to say, but still, the fact that they've got that many that can come into the UK at the minute is great.
Absolutely.
So I'm thinking Christmas is going to be a good one for Sony and Microsoft this year.
True. Yeah. Well, I've been getting stuck into one of Sony's flagship franchises finally. I've been playing Uncharted.
Oh,
so we've already talked about
the.
No, I played the first hour or so of Golden Abyss, which is the PlayStation Vita prequel
and
to
it's
the
still
whole series.
held highly as one of the best.
Oh yeah,
ones.
it's still good. It's not made by Naughty Dog, that one, because I was having a look into it. I was like, when do I need to play this? Because I'll probably, as part of this run of playing the 4 or the 4.5, including Lost Legacy, I'll have to go and play that one as well. So I was checking when to play it, and apparently it's a prequel set before the first one. But yeah, because obviously everyone who has a PlayStation account got given the Uncharted trilogy for free last year when COVID was starting up. Sony were like, "Here you go, here's 3 games," and then I got number 4, whatever that one's called, for like a $5. And I was like, "Okay, right, great, I've got the 4 now. I'll get stuck into them at some point." So finished Yakuza. I was like, right, what's next? Do you know what? Let's give one of these a go. I'll play one Uncharted game, and then I'll go on to something else, and then I'll go back and do another one. And I'd finished it in like 2 days. I didn't realize how short it was relatively.
Oh yeah,
and you know what? Great. Like, it's a really nice breath of fresh air to not have a game where it's like, here's the main story, but also here's another 70 hours of gameplay where you need to go and collect this, and you can go and do this mission and this and this. You know, like, because the last few games I played were Stick of Truth, and Yakuza Kiwami 2, and that one especially is, you know, it's the main story you can probably get through in about 15 to 20 hours, but you're talking 40 to 50 hours if you really want to do all the little side games and all the little missions, which you can't not. You know, that is 90% of the fun, I think, in those games. It's going and playing golf or baseball or gambling or running a hostess bar and things like that. So it was nice to just have this really linear game that there was, you know, as you were, you know, when you're playing a game and you save it and it says you are 43% complete.
Yeah.
And when you get to about 60%, you finish the game. Be like, okay, so 40% is me replaying this game, trying to find all the unlockables. This was like, you know, proper full progress. I played it for a couple of hours and it said you are 24% of the way through. I'm like, okay, wow, okay, I'm flying through this. There's not that much game here. And then after about, I mean, I'm not even sure what it got to, maybe about 8 hours, something like that. It was like, yeah, you're 95%. I was like, okay, finish it now. So it was really nice to just be done. So I was like, okay, let's just step into the second one. And I just finished the second one this evening.
Which is the best one, to be fair, out of
I did enjoy it more than the first one. Yeah, and I mean, I like the first one. It's just, I really like the Tomb Raider games, the reboot Tomb Raider games. And it just doesn't feel anywhere near as solid as those. I mean, it's Naughty Dog. They know what they're doing in terms of the motion capture and the cinematics and stuff, and great. But it is far too, I mean, especially the first one, there wasn't anywhere near enough adventuring and puzzles. It was far too much. You run into a new scene. Oh, look, there's some crates. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to hide behind them. Oh, look, there's guys with guns. And they just appear from nowhere. Like, you can see into a chamber in a tomb or whatever, and there's no one there, but there's loads of crates. And then the minute you step over this invisible threshold, suddenly 17 people with guns jump out from behind pillars, and they definitely weren't there before because I tested it and I threw a grenade in to see if it killed anyone, and no, it didn't. But then suddenly, magically, they're there, and things like that. It just felt really arcadey and didn't feel like as I don't know, the way the Tomb Raider games worked. It really felt like everyone was already in the world. Everyone was already walking around. Everyone's there. You know, you don't just walk past this threshold and suddenly they're there. You know, you can avoid them if you want to. You can go, you can fight them, whatever you want to do. Excuse me. So I think that kind of ruined me against these sorts of games. And everything I ever hear about Uncharted is, you know, the set pieces are amazing and the story's great and it is like a movie, just an interactive movie. And that part of it, 100% I agree with. Really, like, some of the set pieces are amazing. Just the gameplay is a bit lacking.
Well, that's what I've always said, isn't it, about Uncharted? Is literally the story's really fun, but the gameplay is so bad.
Yeah,
and because it's literally like a cover shooter, and it genuinely is a cover shooting game. The shooting mechanics aren't even that great in it.
No,
it's shocking that's your main task in the game, and you can't even have like a really good feature about it.
I thought it would be way more adventuring and puzzle solving and stuff, but I'd be running through a tomb, let's say, just hoping, just like fingers crossed, like please just don't make me turn this corner and have another shooting battle. I want to solve some puzzles. I want to get out my journal and start matching up symbols on the wall and turning like wheels around and pushing blocks. I just want to do that for a little bit, and then suddenly, oh no, there's crates, someone's going to attack me. Of course they are. And the second one, I think they realized that and they cut that down. There was definitely a lot more like I don't know how much of it you remember, but like the whole scene where you're off with this Tibetan guy climbing up through this temple, and like no fight in there at all. It is just, all right, jump from here, jump from there, climb up this, and turn this wheel. That sort of stuff, like that's more what I was hoping for. The Tomb Raider games are a really, really good mix of that. Like say, you can avoid fighting pretty much altogether for big sections of it. So I'm hoping that they stick with that a bit more throughout the third and the fourth one. I don't know whether I'll go into the third one straight away, but I still only feel like I've been playing for them for about a week, so I'm not bored.
They're not long. You could easily bash them all out by like this time next week. It'll be done.
I think so.
Like 3 is really short compared to
really?
2, and 4 is quite long because it's supposed to be like this is the end point of Nathan Drake.
And plus, I'm going to spend hours playing Crash Bandicoot, right?
Yeah, you get one life, so as long as you...
is that what you get?
Yeah,
okay,
as long as you're good with it.
Okay, fair enough.
Maybe. But I've never been good at Crash Bandicoot, so I was like, hey, look, it's Crash Bandicoot, and then died, and I was like, that was Crash Bandicoot then.
It's weird, because I skipped Uncharted, and, I played Crash Bandicoot when I was younger, and then I played The Last of Us and Last of Us 2. And the difference between those two games, goes without saying, is just astronomical. Like totally different games. Then they've come on so many leaps and bounds. I was actually surprised when I first started playing how much of Crash Bandicoot I saw in it, because it was just so linear and like, run here and have a shootout, run along here, have another shootout. So it's interesting seeing that middle sort of franchise for them. And I totally understand then why they've gone into The Last of Us and just been like, right, okay, let's really concentrate on this other stuff. So,
but I mean, that's probably it's something that ages ago I used to be like, it's just really short. It's like, just guide me by the hand and take me. And I much prefer like, let's go and explore over here. Let's go do all that. Now, I'm loving the sound of the Guardians of the Galaxy game, which is going to be like my next purchase. Because that is genuinely just like you don't get to go anyone else. You literally just go Star-Lord. It's very linear, very mini side quest, if any at all. And apparently it's over in like 12 hours and it's done. Okay. And I'm like, but the gameplay is solid and it's been getting like amazingly good reviews. And I know a couple of people that are like playing it at the minute and telling me I'll buzz off it. Just mainly because like the music choices that get thrown in, some of the humor that's in it is like fantastic. The Easter eggs are amazing. And I'm like, I will do. My issue is I completely forgot again that I did this, but I pre-ordered Project Zero, Made in a Blackwater for the Switch. And that came out on the 29th. So that's preloaded on the Switch, ready for me to play. And you know how I love me some Project Zero. Absolutely. And I am dying to get involved in that. My sort of, and this is going to sound really bad after me saying all that, like I love how like linear games and just like, get point to A to point B and just like, get it done. I'm still massively playing Dragon's Quest like 11. Can't get enough of that.
Yeah, but that's 120 hour, right? I've heard.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I stupidly was like, I was sitting in work the other day, and I was like, I don't have time to stick on Dragon's Quest because it's dinner. So I'm going to be like, if I put that on, then I'm lost like the rest of the afternoon, and the boss is going to shout at me. I sit right next to the CEO and the other director. So like they've got one on one side, one on the other. And I'm just like, can't really get away with spending more than my normal like 45 minutes to an hour of dinner. If like they come across like, Reg, it's been an hour and 15 minutes now. I'm like, yeah, just let me like defeat this thing and then I'm going to like call it, I promise you. They'll be like, no, just fucking close it down now and stay later. I'm like, right, okay. So I was like, what do I play? I don't want to play Forza. I want to play something. I'm going to hate myself for doing this, but I'm just going to see what the Avengers is like. And then I'm just going to like,
wow.
I just need to, because we played a demo and I was like, meh. It's literally just meh. But I just wanted something after just having like a really stressful, annoying morning. I just wanted the ability to be a superhero and punch people in the face.
Fair enough.
Just to try and calm down a little bit. And it's really good. And I hate myself for it. You get past the like, oh, let's do a day where it's like, let's be, Iron Man, let's be Hulk, let's be Captain America, let's be Thor. And you get to go like Miss Marvel when you go through that, and I find myself getting really absorbed into the story, and it's brilliant. And I didn't realize that so many people were saying, yeah, the story mode is great for it. If you've got it, just run through the story. The story is brilliant. It's just when you go to do like the online side of it, there's no customization, there's nothing really else to do at the end game. It's just that. But all the expansions are free on the Game Pass.
Yeah.
So I'm going through the main campaign now, and I know once this is done, I'll jump onto like the Kate Arch one, because that's one of the reasons I wanted to try and do it. And then obviously Battle for Wakanda, which I'm not that arsed about, but you need to get through that in order for when Spidey comes out. Hopefully that's going to come over to the Xbox at some point, and then I'll be able to play that one.
Oh yeah, of course, because it's
a Sony exclusive, isn't it, for now? But seeing as Sony have secretly set up PlayStation for PC now as well, I don't know if you've seen, they did like a little play event, didn't they, where they were showing off loads of new footage from old like games that we knew were coming out and whatnot. They just announced Days Gone for the PC, along with like God of War is obviously coming out on the PC now as well, and they're saying that they're sticking with the PC now with the Sony exclusives, and they're bringing them out on PC. And at the end of the Days Gone trailer, it was the PlayStation for PC studio, so which popped up for a couple of split seconds and then just disappeared. So they're secretly like, hey, look, we are going to focus in on this, because a lot of the titles they've put across, like the latest Uncharted, and they've got a third party studio which they were just like, yeah, you do the ports first.
Dealing with the ports,
and they did like the ports like Dark Souls 2 for the PC and stuff like that, which people are like, ooh, but they've done a decent enough job on these ones. But they're actually like, yeah, I tell you what, we're actually going to start focusing in now, like getting proper work done on porting across our PlayStation titles for PC. So now I'm like, right, so I've got Game Pass, which enables me to play the Xbox games on my laptop. My gaming laptop is a really high-spec laptop. So the likes of God of War, which I've played anyway, so, happy days, love that title. But I can play that with all the fancy mods that people are going to be doing.
That's the thing, isn't it?
And the likes of Spider-Man and stuff, which it's got to be coming out on the PC, I reckon. So like the Miles Morales one, which I didn't get to play, I'll hopefully be able to grab that as well. If that's the case, I'm not going to need a console. And I think this is what PlayStation have figured out, is that they didn't want the sales being taken away from their console games, but they've now come to the realization that if you want to play a game on the console, you'll play it on the console. If you want to play it on the PC, you'll play it on the PC.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, they don't make the money out of the consoles, they make the money out of the software.
Exactly.
So, yeah, why does it matter?
Yeah, I think part of it is they like the control, which I know you're going to go in. This is a nice little segue for you, by the way. But they like the control of what they can put out onto their marketplace, whereas PC they can mod stuff to your heart content, like to Skyrim and stuff. You see, like with Xbox or like Microsoft, are like, yeah, just go for it, mod, Skyrim, Fallout, do whatever you want to do to it. And on PlayStation, like, yeah, you can mod it so your arrows, do a little bit more damage, but do not think about putting Thomas the Tank Engine as a dragon. Like, we quality control our stuff. Like, we're having none of those shenanigans, no nutty ladies, that sort of stuff. Like, everything is just like...
Oh, I see what your segue you're setting up is. I was confused. I was like, what segue is he expecting me to go into here now? But yeah, I completely remember. So while we're on the subject of Sony,
smooth.
Yeah. So I mean, this is backwards, right?
Yeah.
So, and I don't mean that. I mean that in the way that there is a game that has been released by a company called. Let me find the name.
So he hasn't already got it on Switch.
East Asia Soft. Okay, now they've made games, including but not limited to Waifu Uncovered, Hentai versus Evil, and similar games. So they are very much into their anime sort of ladies, buxom anime ladies, let's say. And I know these sorts of games do pretty well on Steam and the likes. But their new one, which it's kind of called 20 Ladies, right? Now, it's been released on the PlayStation and it's been released on the Switch. Now, the Switch version is 20 Ladies. And the game essentially, I mean, if you watch it, I don't know whether you watched the trailer for it, Reg, but...
I didn't, because you sent it to me while I was working and you're like, watch this, and it's like, I can't put this on my game.
It's age restricted on YouTube. But basically, it's just Super Meat Boy, right? Pretty much a bad version of Super Meat Boy. But throughout the levels, rather than collecting, I mean, I can't remember what you collect in Super Meat Boy now. Is it bits of meat or something like that? You collect ladies, 20 ladies. Is it 20 ladies? 20 girls? 20 ladies. It was 20 ladies. You collect ladies. So they're just these little glowing like silhouettes of ladies. But as you get them, you then get an anime girl. So a very badly as well drawn woman who is generally in different states of undress. So these are not photographs. These are not like I say, good quality drawings either. These are really shoddy looking. Like the YouTube video is still censored, so it's not like I've downloaded this and tried this. But I've seen the video.
Yeah.
They're just really they're really poor quality drawings as well. And that's come out on the Nintendo Switch, which I didn't think Nintendo would allow anything like that. So I don't even know whether there's an update to this story where Nintendo have pulled it from the catalog. Wouldn't surprise me. Now, it's also been released on the PlayStation. However, Sony have said, no, we cannot have poorly drawn anime waifus who are half naked. So change it. Do something. If you want to release this game, change it. So they've changed it to 20 Bunnies, which basically is exactly the same game, except instead of collecting ladies, you collect female anime rabbits. And the drawings of the anime rabbits are so much better. Like, if you click on the article, Reg.
Yes, I've got the
You can see there's a side-by-side of pictures from both. And one is just terrible. And what, I mean, end of the day, I don't even know how much I can comment on anime bunny rabbits looking good. I just mean the quality of the drawings is actually passable. But it's exactly the same. Yet
so
Sony
if
have gone,
you had the choice of either this anime bunny,
right,
or the Cadbury's bunny,
okay, or Lola bunny,
which bunny would you have? In fact, I'm not even going to include Lola bunny in this. It's either Cadbury's bunny or this anime bunny.
Okay, interesting. I'll have to have a think about it, and I'll let you know next week. By which point, hopefully, you'll have forgotten about this question.
Nope, I'm going to make sure, and it's still on the Switch. shop, by the way.
Okay, it's still there. Right, interesting.
Yeah,
It's just that. Am I not wrong that sounds like? I mean, I can't think. In fact, are any of the Leisure Suit Larry games on PlayStation? You've got
Magna Cum Laude.
Yeah, and thingy. I mean, Mass Effect Andromeda has got some pretty explicit scenes in that, like uncensored CGI boobies flying everywhere. There's an awful lot of that sort of stuff. There's plenty of games. The Witcher 3 is like that, right? Loads of games that are just like Sony, like, yeah, whatever. So how come
I don't think that's I think the point is though that's just a mini tiny part, which is not
whereas
part
this
of the
is
main
like
game. Whereas
right,
this is genuinely just
here is your reward for collecting things. Here are naked drawings of possibly
and because they probably classed this as like a sexual game and not a space RPG sci-fi masterpiece or something. It's like, basically just collecting nutty women to have like really badly drawn pictures of nutty women.
Yeah, okay, that makes perfect sense. But why Nintendo are like, yeah, whatever, it's fine. Like Nintendo, it feels like they're turning the Switch into a mobile gaming sort of device as well.
Over in Japan, you can get the anime like mahjong titles where if you beat women and if you beat the people in there, you get pictures.
Same thing.
Yeah. So there's loads of titles like that, like you said, which were rife on Android games at like stores, and not so much the Apple Store, but if you jailbroke it, you could get them on that.
Yeah.
Apparently, my friend said.
So. It's like the Yakuza games as well. Like you're saying, so because this is the reward, that's why it's like, we're not going to allow it. Yet the Yakuza game, the first one, if you go to the hostess bars and you level up your friendship or your relationship with one of the hostesses enough to get to S rank, you go on a date with her and whatever, you then get an actual video of a real life AV actress sort of rolling around on the bed in her underwear.
Well, you get the exact same thing with Zero, isn't it? But you basically go phone up a phone line and it's a mini game, and I'm
pretty sure all
the videos and stuff
8
like that
of the games or whatever have got something like that in.
That's just because it's a mini part of the game that you don't have to do. With this, you have to collect the
censors didn't get that far in the game to.
Yeah, I think there's got to be some reason behind it, but I'm pretty sure it's something along the lines of that, because
it is so 100% the game. It's not just a small part of it. Absolutely. And by the way, I'm not complaining. I'm not like, why can I not play this game on my PlayStation?
Because surely, when I was chatting to Mike about it yesterday, when you sent me the link, I was just like, right, so I need to buy this on the PlayStation, and I just really need to play this game only on the Playstation. I don't really not bothered about it on the Switch. I don't want to see the anime ladies. I just want to see.
You don't want to buy this game, Reg. It looks so bad.
Honestly, I believe it probably will do.
It looks terrible. It's such a weird concept. Who thought? Yeah, do you know what? We can make our own knockoff Super Meat Boy, but do you know what it's missing? Like half-naked anime waifus.
Yeah, it's like a flash game on the PC, isn't it?
That's
for
it.
Like
That's
degenerates.
Exactly
Basically, it's just there's that many out there. It's just insane. It really is. But it's not something I can honestly say that's the one for me.
No. But if there was one for you, it would be the PlayStation version.
Oh yeah, Cadbury's Bunny all the way.
Yeah, you've always been a fan, haven't you? Yeah,
I have, sir.
Do you know who we're also a fan of?
Who are we also a fan of?
Kevin Smith.
We are. So that's Smooth.
Yeah,
like ice. So this was a really bizarre experience. So I was chatting to again one of the new lads in work yesterday, because we were talking about films, and like he was watching some films. He was like, you know what, we all started watching. We started watching Zach and Miri make porno, because we were trying to find comedies that we haven't seen, and I was like, this sounds like it's supposed to be funny, but at the same time a bit weird. I'm not quite sure. So his missus was like, well, just stick it on. Like, I've heard of this Kevin Smith guy, so hopefully, it could be quite good. So they stuck it on and they watched it and they laughed and they thought it was really amusing. And I was like, do you want to know a funny story about Kevin Smith? So I told him that I was like, I'm the half man, half sausage guy.
So explain, you need to go into much more context here.
I was just about to.
Okay,
so
good.
I was like, I'm the half man, half sausage guy. And Mike was like, I wondered how long it would take until Reg brought this up. And I was like, it's not so like I meet someone and be like, hi, guess what? I asked Kevin Smith, like film director, this amazing question. Years back, so it was my 21st birthday. Kevin Smith done a Q&A session in London for like a DVD showing called Evening with Kevin Smith 2, Evening Harder. And we were all like, oh, we should definitely go down and watch that. So we were toying with the idea of going down and doing it. And I was like, I don't know what question I'm going to ask. And one of the guys in work was like, why don't you ask this? And I was like, because I'm not an idiot. Like, so I'm probably not. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, I don't really have a question, but I really want to ask him something. So I was like, hey, but I felt so weird because everyone was asking him like, Clerks 1, you used the grain of film that was like type A. Why did you choose this? And he's like, oh, like this, like, interesting. And you chose to use this camera lens like this. And I was like, and he answered like amazingly quick, like in technical detail and all sorts of stuff. And then it hit me. And I was just like, if you could be like half man, half sausage, which way around would you have it and why?
I'm going to insert the clip here, Reg, by the way.
Cool.
Yes, sir.
If you could be half man, half sausage, which way round would you have it and why?
One more time. If I could be half man and half sausage.
Which way round would you have it and why?
Wait, that's the part that...
Right, so you could have like top half man, bottom half sausage.
Oh, okay, so which end would I rather be the man?
Or top half sausage, bottom half man, so you can run around. Classic.
Which side do I want to be the sausage side?
Oh, yeah.
That is hands down the best question I've ever been asked. I would choose bottom half sausage, because then I would finally have a massive dick. Top half,
Genius.
Not real good.
That's brilliant.
Is a good enough answer. Not nearly as brilliant as the question, though.
Yeah, and that was his answer, which, to be fair, made me chuckle. But then he guest edited Total Film magazine when that DVD was due to come out. And like loads of people started texting me back in time, because this was before like Facebook and stuff was like a major thing. It texted me going, you need to go and have a look. Not even like, here's a photo of, like, you need to go and have a look at the Total Film magazine because Kevin Smith said something about you. And I'm like,
yeah, what? You couldn't send photo messages on a 3310 back then.
No. So I was like, let's have a look. So we went and I bought it, and it was basically Kevin Smith had like a little yellow post-it note next to the review of Evening Harder.
Well, he guest edited the review section, so every review had his comments on, but this was an entire review of his own DVD.
But the thing I loved about it was that he was like, this is single-handedly the greatest question I've ever been asked in a Q&A. Tell Helen Mirren you should knight this motherfucker, and quickly. He's like, if it was, someone in the US, they would have been laughed out of state, but because that boy did it with his British fleck. Yeah. He was like, he became my hero that night. And I was like, nah. I was like, that's amazing. So like, I was buzzing off that. That was like amazing. This little mini claim to fame, like, ooh, check me out. Love it. And then I was telling Jack about it, and Jack was like, I don't know what half man, half sausage means. Is this like a film of his or something? I was like, no. Went to this Q&A, did that. And I was like, it's amazing. Look, I'll try and find it. And I couldn't find it on YouTube and on my Facebook, sorry. And I was like, where is it? It's got to be somewhere on YouTube. And not. And then you type in half man, half sausage Kevin Smith into like Google, and there's a few random blog posts that are like, check out this fucking weirdo asking this question. And everyone's like, it's an amazing question. Ha ha. And then I come across an interview with Kevin Smith from Enemy. And they're talking about basically the film Yoga Hosers, which, is definitely the best idea he's ever had for a film. Just thrown out there. But in
better than Tusk.
Only just. But basically, I mean, he even admits in this interview, he was like, it's just fucking stupid. He was like, I'm in a really weird phase of my career where I'm just like, what can I make? Fuck it, I'm going to make a film about these two girls who work in a convenience store and fight Nazi sausages that come out of the ground called bratzis. And they were like, all right, so what made you think about doing Nazi sausages then? And then his answer was specifically, it was actually sort of inspired by when I went to speak at colleges. Somebody asked me the greatest question I've ever got at a Q&A, which is, if you could be half man, half sausage, which way around would you have it and why? He was like, I chose the lower half because I have a big dick. But years later, I was like, oh my God, yeah, that's it. Half man, half sausage would be the bratzy. So I'm making a bratzy. So I'm like, holy shit. My question actually inspired a film.
Yeah.
Which is just...
And literally, like, that is what the film is built around. It's not even just like one little character.
No, it's weird. And bizarre. Someone's even done like a comic strip about it as well. Half man, half sausage, which, you know, he didn't even say like, hey, this is inspired by this. Like, here's a kooky idea I come up with. And I'm like, you didn't. But fair enough. And then there's loads of like random posts now on Reddit. Now I've fallen down the rabbit hole. There's like loads of posts of like, on Reddit of people putting like Kevin Smith on a barbecue where it's like half Kevin Smith, half sausage and stuff, going like, who can beat this one? And loads of people are doing the post and like, this is just really bizarre. So I was like, that's me, like massive ego for the next couple of days where I'm like, check me out. And then, you know, I'll completely forget all about it again, like I have been doing recently with that sort of stuff. But yeah, I was like, that's pretty awesome. So rather made up with that, which is cool. But while we're on the subject of watching things, I finished off all of Lock and Key season 2 now as well, which is good. Okay. Did you watch Lock and Key season?
No, still not watched season 1.
So good. Season 2 is a lot darker, like amazingly dark. But the annoying thing is they did the stupid thing where they finished it all off amazingly well, where you're like, brilliant. Really doesn't need to be like a sequel anymore, like another series. That's it. But they openly came out, I was like, yeah, we filmed season 2 and 3 back to back. I'm like, all right, okay, cool. And then the ending happens, and then there's like, oh, here's a tacked on bit right at the end where it's like, hey, here's another random person that's going to come out and now have a season about it. I'm like, right, there's no reason to do that, guys. Don't know why you did that. We'll watch it because seasons 1 and 2 were great, but yeah, I'm not as looking forward to it as what I was with seasons 1 and 2, to be fair. But season 2 is definitely worth a watch. But we're now at that stage where I'm like, right, we've binge watched all of that. We've finished American Horror Stories. The new series American Horror Story has started on Disney Plus, so we've been watching that. And apparently the first half's really good, and it's starting off well. It feels like a Stephen King film or series. It's like one of those that you get a really good feel for it. But if you've played Alan Wake and then you've watched this season, the main character in it just genuinely wants to be Alan Wake so bad. Really? Like the whole look is just Alan Wake. And I can't get out. I know it seems as though we're having to reference Alan Wake on every single podcast we do recently, but genuinely, like watching it, I'm like, this is just Alan Wake. You go into like a weird little mini town, like desert town, so to speak, where you've got writer's block, so you need somewhere to come into it, and you're like an author screenwriter. You've got, you know, the suit jacket with the hoodie on and the slick back hair. Like it genuinely just looks and feels like Alan Wake. I'm like, come on, like surely this is like some sort of homage to it. But it's coming across really good so far, to be fair. Like, so we've got that, but we're finishing off like everything else. So we're like, oh, what do we start watching now? And I'm dying for like a new series to properly start. Like Hawkeye doesn't start for another like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I need something.
That's December, isn't it? Or is it end of November?
End of November.
Okay.
Like 24th of November it starts. So I need something to pass the time until that comes out.
Yeah. we've been. Well, I started rewatching Silicon Valley because it was one of those. Every time there was a new season, I would rewatch it up until that point, and then watch the new season. And I didn't do it for the final season. And about a year ago, or maybe a year and a half ago, I started rewatching it. Got up to about season 3, and then Sky Now TV removed it. It just expired on that, so it wasn't there for ages, and it came back. So I started watching it again, and over the course of about a week, I got up to, I think, mid season 4, and then we were in the living room. Shell's been doing a jigsaw. I was sat there watching TV, watching that, and she just started like laughing her ass off at it. And I was like, you actually, I've tried to get you to watch this before and you didn't want to. Now you're watching it, you find it really funny. Do you want to start again? She was like, yeah, can we watch the first one? I was like, okay. So we literally had to start again. So I spent the last week while I've been ill with her re-watching for the second time in the space of 2 weeks, 4 seasons of Silicon Valley, which, do you know what, there's worse things because it is just so good. But yeah, we'd really finished that. But next to that, I'm in the same boat as you. I've run out of things that I desperately want to watch. Sounds like Lock and Key is worth a shout. I know The Witcher is about to come back. They've just dropped the
December
new trailer
again, though,
they?
Isn't it? So that annoyingly, we still I know Ash hasn't watched The Witcher actually, so I might have to get Ash onto The Witcher so we can watch season 2 of that. Because I think she'll like it. To be fair, it's always one of those weird things where I'm like, I don't know if you'll like this or not, but I guarantee I'll get onto like, halfway through a season where I'm like, yeah, you're not that bothered, like what you just happened to you then. And then all of a sudden she's like, oh, like it was Game of Thrones. Like we were watching Game of Thrones. I was watching Game of Thrones. She wasn't really bothered about it to begin with. And then I randomly put on like an episode. She's like, oh, what's happening here? And then she's like, can you put the next one on? I'm like, no, I'm watching it live. She's like, oh. I was like, oh, you're interested? And she's like, yeah, that was actually good. And I'm like, right. And I've got a feeling it's going to be the same with The Witcher. Like, it start off quite, she'll be like, what is this? And then when it kicks off, she'll be like, oh, this is actually like pretty cool. Like when Yennefer actually starts turning, I think that'll be her point where, have you not watched season 1 of Witcher either?
No.
Right, okay.
Nor have I played the game yet. So I've got it downloaded. That's probably the next game after I finish
The nice thing
Uncharted.
is, mate, you don't need to play The Witcher to watch The Witcher because it's based on the books rather than the game.
But I feel like I'm going to want to. If I watch, if I play the
me
game, I'm going to want to watch
it.
the show or vice versa. So
yeah, it's made me want to go back in and finish off Witcher 3 because I never finished it off, and there's no reason for it. It's one of those games, but it's now at that point where if I load it up, I'll be like, well, I can't load it up because I don't have a PS4 anymore, so I'd have to start again on the PC.
I mean, you can constantly get it for next to nothing on the PC.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? And that's what I love. Like all the games I really want to get into, I can do now. But
in fact, I've got the first 2 were free on GOG a while back.
In fact, you know what? I've got more. Yeah. I've genuinely got. I've got those 2, and I've got The Witcher 3 with all the expansion packs. I think it was like £3 or something, and I was like, yeah, I'll be daft. I'll play it at some point.
And do you have Amazon Prime?
Yes.
Yeah. So the do you ever get any of their? Do you know about Prime Gaming?
Yeah.
Any of the free games? Because they've teamed up now with EA Origins and GOG. And
they put some good stuff on recently.
Well, yeah, rather than having to launch it through the Amazon Prime launcher. I mean, there's every month there's been something decent, but they've now started to give a decent EA game or a decent game on GOG. So Control Ultimate Edition is on there this month. Ironically, that you just bought the add-on, but but that's downloadable through GOG, so you don't have to use the rubbish thingy launcher, the stupid Amazon Prime launcher.
Right, see, because the annoying thing. Oh yeah, sure, now.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Rise of Tomb Raider full title and all the bonus content.
Yep, there you go. That as well.
Dragon Age Inquisition as well.
Yeah, that's on EA Origins. Yeah. So it's worth.
Wow.
I think they gave away Squadrons a while back.
Yes, they did last month, wasn't it?
I didn't know about it until about 3 or 4 months ago. So every month I've just been adding them all to my shopping list or whatever to my account, just like I do with the free Epic games. But yeah, it's I don't think that many people seem to know about it. But if you just have a look, search for Prime Gaming, and it'll take you to a page. There's loads of.
Yeah, I just literally got
the
code and stuff for Dragon Age Origins and stuff.
Easy as that. So yeah, there's loads. The top of the page is about 30 games where there's sort of exclusive DLC and add-ons. So like, there's always something for Fall Guys. There's always something for I don't know, Call of Duty Black Ops or whatever. No, Black, whichever the massive the multiplayer one is. Quite a lot of decent games. Sea of Thieves and stuff on that. Loads of freebies, and there's something new every month. But then at the bottom, there's usually about sort of 10 to 12 games for free. And most of the time you get them through the Prime Game Launcher, which you can only use on Windows, doesn't work on Mac. But now they've started also giving, like I said, GOG codes, Epic Game Store codes, and Origins codes. So yeah, it's worth having a look every month to see what's free.
Yeah,
as long as you're Prime Gaming. So
did not know about that.
No, and plus I suppose those games won't expire. Like if you cancel your Prime Gaming account, if you cancel your Prime account, you won't be able to access the stuff through the Prime Gaming Launcher, but you'll still be able to get your EA Origins and GOG games because they're separate. So that's good. It's not like PlayStation Plus. See, having cancelled PlayStation Plus, I forgot how many games I have through that now that I just have lost access to, which is a bit frustrating.
Of course,
but yeah, never mind.
Well, it turns out I've got an Origins account. I never knew I had one.
Oh yeah, if you played an EA game, you'll have probably been forced to have an EA Origins account at some point. Speaking of, you mentioned Game of Thrones before. This is a very loose segue, but I went to watch Dune at the cinema.
Okay. You went to watch it.
Few days before I was ill, so who knows? Maybe Dune gave me it. But I was just I couldn't decide how excited I was to see this film. I remember watching. I don't read. I can read, just choose not to. I read comic books.
I like how you had to be like, I can't read, guys. Look, honestly,
I just don't. I don't know. It doesn't. I can't. I haven't got the patience to sit and read a book. But I'm more than capable of sitting watching TV or a movie and getting the same experience as far as I'm concerned. So I'm sure, I would love to know all the ins and outs and all the extra little things that happen in the books. But I'm going to have to make do with TV and movies. And I remember watching, like, when I was younger, I went through a bit of a phase of being, like, me and a few friends were really into obscure sort of sci-fi and like indie movies and stuff like that, and Dune was one of the ones we watched. I remember being very bored by it, and it had its moments. Like, there's plenty of stuff that is very unique and iconic, but as a whole it was a pretty poor film, and hence they never continued the series. There was a mini series as well based on the Children of Dune books, but so I remember bits of it. Everyone remembers the worm, obviously, and in fact, I probably know more of it from the games. Because there was the Dune, Dune 2000, wasn't it? Yeah, or 3000, something like that, which was an RTS, and then there was also like an adventure game years ago. Like, it might have even been a text adventure. I can't remember, but either way, I know as much about it purely based on sort of, just general pop culture, sort of absorbing that sort of the general gist of the story. So going into it, I was fairly blind because I didn't know the whole gist of the main story. I just knew all the a few little things that it was based on, and it was weird. I can't decide whether to recommend it or not. Like, I asked you if you wanted to go and see. I wasn't sure whether you were going to be excited to see it, so I asked you, and you said not bothered. You'll wait and watch it on TV or whatnot. But it's very long. It looks amazing, and I never really got bored. It was interesting enough, but the problem is, and I'm seeing this everywhere, is it just ends. It's like half a movie. It's a 2.5, 3 hour movie, yet it felt like, how a season of Game of Thrones, this is where the Game of Thrones link came in. You get to sort of episode 9, and it's amazing. You have this massive, huge battle or something very dramatic happens, and it's like the finale cliffhanger episode of the season. And then it has that final episode. It was always it was the penultimate episode that had all the drama. And then the last episode was a very low key, all right, let's just tie things up and lead you into the next season. And it felt like that because there was kind of a big battle, about sort of the sort of 70-80% of the way through mark. And then the final 30% of the film was just them sort of like their journey across from one side of the desert to another, and then they had to put in this, okay, we need something dramatic at the end, so let's make them have a fight with some knives. And then it ended, and it was like, okay, that was it. That was like, we don't even know whether they're going to make another one yet. I don't know.
It's been confirmed.
No, yes, at this point, it's been confirmed. Sorry. But the film had been out 2 weeks before they announced that they were going to make the next one. And it was absolutely, there's been too many films of books, trilogies or whatever, that they've made the first one and it's flopped so badly they've just never continued it. Same for TV series. Like, look at Y: The Last Man.
I was about to say,
we're how far through that whole saga, and they've just gone, right, that's, cancelled. So it was just, I don't know, it felt like a really weird choice, almost like imagine if Lord of the Rings had ended where it had and the first one hadn't done very well, and they just said, let's just stop. The only reason that, if that had failed, the only reason that we'd have been guaranteed the second and third ones was because they made them at the same time. Yet this film, they haven't even, they hadn't started making the second one or a potential third one they're going to make. So it's really odd. I would absolutely recommend seeing it on a big screen, but I would probably say wait for a couple of years until the second one comes out, so you can then do a back-to-back of them. Cause it's
okay, because Mike went to watch it in 4DX.
Right.
And he was like, honestly, in 4DX, it's amazing. I was like, I couldn't
I'm sure most
like
films
a more boring film in 4DX than... Because I thought it was a political thing about spice. Didn't realise that there was wars and shit in it.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that is still a large chunk of the film.
Yeah.
It is still all about politics and, the emperor and the houses. And so, yeah, there's still loads of that. But then there's a few scenes where there's some dramatic battles or whatever, but not that many. There's I think maybe 2 scenes where there's some big fights and then not much else. So yeah, it's weird. I'm surprised I don't know, the fact it's done as well as it has. I think it's
living on the name.
It
more
is
than I think anything else, isn't it?
Because it's got this fan base that's been dying for this film for decades. People have wanted a proper, as true as it can be, decent budget version of the books, and they finally got it. And the guy who makes it, I don't think I've seen one of his films that I haven't thought was amazing, and at least visually, like, that's what he's really good at. But it's just, I don't know, it's very odd. I wish I'd have known going in that it was just going to end without any resolution. Like, not even like, look at the first Matrix film, part of a trilogy, yet it finishes and it could have quite happily just finished.
Yeah.
Then you've got the second one finishes and it is absolutely a to be continued. We are halfway through a story here. You cannot watch this film on its own. You need to now go and watch the third one. But fortunately, the third one came out 6 months later. It's that moment, but I don't know. They I guess bravely or stupidly did that without knowing they were going to make a second one. It's bizarre. So yeah, I don't know. It's odd. It's very odd. I feel I kind of, people in the States, I think, are very lucky in that they get to watch it on HBO Max.
Right, okay.
And then you're not sort of wasting that 2.5, 3 hours in the cinema to then be disappointed that there's no continuation of it for another 2-3 years because they haven't started filming it yet. And not having to spend any money on it. And I've seen plenty of people on Reddit who've said, I watched it on HBO Max Really enjoyed it, but yeah, now I want to go and see it on IMAX because I've heard it's amazing. And then they've gone to the cinema to watch it. So, I think that's probably a better way of doing it. But I don't know.
Yeah, I reckon so. Speaking of weird films, have you seen the trailer for Morbius?
Morbius.
Yeah.
Morbius. No, I have heard there's a new trailer, but I've not watched it yet.
Today. It's really weird. So it looks all right in bits. It genuinely does. The CGI still looks quite ropey, in a chunk of it, and which is bad because, he's the vampire, so he's expected to be doing lots of flying and he's got this weird, purpley, pinkish light thing that happens behind him when he starts doing the flying.
The thumbnails on the trailers look terrible. He looks like someone's just going to a Comic-Con and they've dressed up as a vampire.
Yeah, other bits look decent, which is what threw me. Other bits genuinely don't. But there's a line in it which just made me go, oh. And because it's in the trailer, I can ruin it, so it's fine.
Yeah.
But there's a guy who comes who Morbius is literally about to kill, and he's like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "I am Venom." Not really, I'm Doctor, and then just stabs him. And I was like, "Are you just trying to link in the whole Venom verse? Why did you have to do that?" And it just seems really pointless. And Michael Keaton's in it as well, which I'm like, even though this is part of the MCU now, is it?
Okay, so they've given that away in the trailer now, because that was always the rumor.
Yeah, so he's in it, but he's not playing Vulture. He's playing a new character.
Oh, right. Oh,
so he's going to be having two characters, I think.
Well, that's fine. That's absolutely fine because Venom, isn't it weird? Yeah, no, because as Venom 2 showed us, it's not in the Spideyverse MCU, is it? It's its own thing. He had to Venom. Spoilers. I think I already spoiled it last time, didn't I? Anyway.
Yeah.
He gets pulled into that universe, into the MCU timeline. So Morbius is in the Venom verse. Right? I feel like that would make sense.
If he's genuinely just
because everyone was saying that he was playing Vulture.
Oh, no, it is the Vulture, sorry.
Okay,
the
then suddenly it makes less sense.
Weird.
Yeah. I mean, let's just face it. They don't know what they're doing. You can trust Marvel Studios to think long and hard and make sure everything works well and everything makes as much sense as it can. Yeah, Sony are just we've got we just want to do this. We're not going to put any thought into it. We're going to include this character. Who cares if it makes no sense in the continuity? They're just along for the ride. Doesn't surprise me. Oh dear. Well, I'll give that a watch once we finish here because I'm curious, but it's one of those. I'll go and see it because it's going to be a $5 at my cinema, but I'm not going to be that bothered by it.
No, I think I was saying to the lads in work that I need to get out because the Eternals comes out on Monday, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, it's really soon. Yeah. Oh no, isn't it Friday? Isn't it 5th?
Is it Friday? Is it?
I think so.
No,
yeah.
His birthday. Damn it.
Yeah. Am I waiting for you to see that?
Yeah, I think so. I want to see it. I know it's not supposed to be rated very good. It's the worst rated Marvel film that's come out, and now the producers have gone. Yeah, we don't actually need to do a sequel to this, guys. Just as a heads up, it's not important. Yeah.
I've heard both sides of it. I've heard so many people saying, "Oh, it's just such a breath of fresh air. It's nothing like any of the other Marvel films, and it's great in these ways." But then everything that's said bad about it is just I just don't get it. It doesn't feel like a Marvel film. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm quite happy for that. I'm no less interested to see it after hearing, about the Rotten Tomatoes reviews being, the lowest they've ever been. So we'll see. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. The new Edgar Wright film's out as well, so I'm interested in watching that.
Soho.
Yeah,
I was so Spaced is hitting its 21st anniversary as well.
Okay.
which is mental. So he was being interviewed about it, and The Guardian did like a huge interview about that last night in Soho, and also like the 21st anniversary of Spaced. So they had like Simon Pegg, Nick Frost, Jessica Haynes, like they had them all like together in the group. But Edgar Wright was obviously in the cutting room floor at the time, like finishing off last night in Soho. And I didn't realize Nick Frost does not want to talk about Spaced.
Okay,
it's really, really bizarre. He was like, "Yeah, I don't want to talk about the past. That's in the past now. So let's talk about future roles and stuff."
Okay,
And like, I'm not bothered. And they thought he was taking the mick, but halfway through the interview, he was like, "Yeah, can someone get me a bacon butty?" And was just like, "I've had it. That you keep talking about this sort of stuff." I'm like, why come along for the press release stuff if you're not wanting to properly get involved in it? But it's like his mate apparently bought the house that.
Oh right, okay.
It was filmed.
That was always, that was always a story that went around social media. It was like, hey, look, this house is for sale, and it was the Spaced house.
Yeah, it was like 3.2 million.
Yeah.
His mate bought it, and he was like, not because it was in space, he just really liked the house. And like, I told him, I was in the show that this is filmed in, and the guy was like, was it weird going back there? And he's like, no, I haven't been back in. Why would I?
Fair enough.
Because your mate lives there now, so yeah, surely you'd want to go and see your mate in it.
How bizarre!
Like, it's just bizarre, but it's like I do want to see Last Night in Soho, but the more Edgar Wright releases films, apart from Scott Pilgrim, which is like obviously not his creation, it's his interpretation of it. So by the by, since Spaced, it started going down the hill. Like Shaun the Dead was great, don't get me wrong.
I like you say, since Spaced, all the stuff he did before Spaced, I loved. Yeah, literally. I mean, I know he did some things before, but that was your first exposure to Edgar Wright.
Yeah, it's like Spaced is just perfect in every sense of the word. And then you've got Shaun the Dead, which was funny, Hot Fuzz, which was good, just wasn't as good as Shaun the Dead, and then the World's End, which was just a bit pants. And then Baby Driver, which the first intro bit was great, where he's walking along and you could see all the words and stuff, and it all interacts with like the world and that sort of stuff. And then the rest of the film was shit. And then you had Scott Pilgrim, which was incredible, but not his own creation. It was just
but it's, I think, a big part of what I like about Scott Pilgrim though is the look and the style of it, and he's got this really quite unique
he's got an
style.
Iconic
exactly.
Style. It's an Edgar Wright.
But that's the thing. I'm curious how that kind of works with something like Last Night at Soho, because it doesn't sound like. I mean, great. I'm all for someone trying something different. But yeah, I'm curious whether there's any of that in it, because it doesn't look like it could have his style.
No,
do you know what I mean?
It's
like
really,
a sort of a period
really different
thing, isn't it? Really, yeah. So I'm interested to see that. I'll hopefully be able to talk about that next week. I'll hopefully have watched it, and I'll report back. But yeah, I'll wait to watch Eternals, and we'll sort something out, Reg.
We'll do that, and then the next one is Spidey.
Yes. Now that's the one thing I think I'm gonna need. So my other half, Shell, has never watched until I made her watch Homecoming, or maybe it was Spider-Verse. I think it was Homecoming. She'd never watched the Spider-Man film, so she's not seen any of the. Weird. I can say original trilogy, like the Raimi trilogy, and she's not watched the Amazing Spider-Man stuff. Those other two.
The first one was really fucking good.
I know you really liked it. It was all right. It was fine. Second one wasn't. I completely agree. But the first one was. I didn't rate the first one as highly as you did. But yeah, I feel like I need her to watch those so she'll understand. If everything's right about what's going to be happening in Far From Home, not Far From Home. What's it called? No Way Home. She's probably going to need to watch them. So I think over the next few weeks we're going to need to watch a Spider-Man a week, just so we can get And I'm curious how the Raimi trilogy hold up.
Not very well, but
probably not.
They're on like every every other night on like ITV2. So if you've got nothing else to watch, just like that's what you do.
They seem to be on every streaming service as well. I think it's one of those films that
it's the build up in it where it's just like,
there you go.
So but
I remember. I mean, I loved the first one, and then I remember the second one even better. Like at the time, that was the pinnacle of superhero films. It was just really well done. Third one, fair enough, not so much, but I'm curious how they hold up, especially to someone who's never watched them, whether they have really aged.
That's the interesting thing
CG,
is, will she be really honest with you and be like, I love you, Dan, but this is awful, can we turn it off? Or will she be like, oh yeah, you like Spider-Man films, this is great. Like,
she's not like that. She's never got no qualms about completely disagreeing with my opinion on something.
Right.
So no problem, I was nervous when we first watched Scott Pilgrim, and then the more I watched it, the more we watched it as we were sat down with her, I was going like, yeah, this is so good that there's no way she's not going to enjoy this, and now she loves it. She's great. So there you go. It was meant to be. Anyway, I think we're at our time, Reg.
Okie dokie.
Okie dokie. Yep.
Well, it's nice to come back again after your illness last week.
It is.
Just missing a week.
Yeah, exactly.
Curse you.
Yeah. But fortunately, we're back and we're better than ever. I am now flu resistant.
Oh, wow.
There you go.
It's your superpower now.
Yes, that's it. Exactly.
After the superbug, you are flu resistant, man.
Correct. Imagine.
I'm name pending. I'll have something.
Fair enough. Alrighty. Right.
Just yet.
Well, thank you everyone for listening, and thank you for thank you for joining me, Reg.
Thanks for having me,
joining
Dan.
you. I didn't have you. We had each other.
We always got each other.
Exactly.
I got you, babe.
I see. On that bombshell. See you next week. Bye.
Toodles.